What's up, everyone? Today we're talking about why I am most likely leaving the US after I graduate college. Now, right now I'm a junior in college, 22 years old. I took a little bit of a year off, so I'm a little bit behind, but we're still getting there. And when people ask me, oh, what are you gonna do after school? Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna work? It's been a couple years now where I've never really envisioned myself living anywhere in the US. I can't see myself staying here in Boston, where I currently am, or going to New York City, or perhaps Austin or Miami or one of those places. But in general, I've always kind of given the answer of, oh, I'll go to South America or Central America or Southeast Asia or somewhere else. And today I want to talk a little bit about why that is. Now, when you grow up in the US, there's kind of this general assumption that you're not going to leave the US after you graduate school, or you're going to stay in the US. I don't know how prevalent that is for other places in the world, but growing up in the US, that was kind of always the assumption. And I think that part of being entrepreneurial is questioning these kinds of assumptions. One of them being, where are you going to live in the world? Now, I think that there's a good reason for most people assuming that they wanted to grow up in the US, because for much of recent history, ever since World War II, the US has been the place to be. It's been the melting pot, it's been where everyone goes for opportunities, and everything has been on the up. But I don't think that's going to continue to be the case. And borrowing from Balaji Srinivasan, you can kind of think of countries as either not developed or developing, but ascending or descending. And the countries, just like businesses, have life cycles, right? They have like the growth phase, the maturity phase, and the decline phase. And it's pretty easy to make a very strong argument that the US is on the decline phase, while a lot of other countries are on the growth and having lots of opportunity phase. This can be visualized in many ways, but the most effective and visual representation I've seen was produced by Dalio and his recent book, Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order, or something along those lines. And if you don't know, Dalio is the founder of Bridgewater Associates, which is one of, if not the world's largest hedge fund. And in this last book, he looks at the life cycles of countries and superpowers rising and falling. And in this picture that I'll put up, you can see that the US really peaked out a little bit after World War II, and ever since has been on the decline. On the other hand, China, as we all know, China is taking over the world. China is coming up exponentially and will soon overtake the US in terms of power. And when that happens, there's going to be a very different world order. Things are going to change, clash, perhaps revolutions, currency shifts, the world reserve currency changing, all that fun stuff, but that's not what we're going to get into in this video. Now, am I saying that you should now go move to China because China is going to be the next superpower? No, I'm not. I would love to experience living in China, but I probably won't end up there long term. What I'm saying is that if you grew up in the US and you kind of always assumed that you were going to stay in the US, you might want to just question that assumption and reconsider if that's really the best place to live and build a business and even perhaps raise a family. Because the truth is, the US is, in general, there are exceptions of certain cities and states and whatnot, but in general is on the decline as compared to other countries and other cities outside of the US, and generally outside of the Western developed world. As an entrepreneur especially, we want to be in the places that are growing and experiencing lots of opportunity, and it's open for business, easy to do business, not in a place that's already very bureaucratic, has lots of, people complaining about the wealthy and tax cuts and all this stuff, and I don't really want to get into all that because I don't know nearly enough to talk about it myself. But as someone looking to build a business, you want to be in a business-friendly environment. We'll just put it that way. And I think that in general, the US is becoming less so as compared to other countries. In the same way that for me, growing up in Hawaii, I saw the vast difference between the supply and the demand. Lots of people coming to Hawaii, tons of tourists wanting to buy stuff, but not a lot of supply because there weren't a lot of people that actually lived there, weren't a lot of people there starting businesses. So it had a lot of opportunity, still does have a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurs to come in and serve that demand. In the same way, the country you live in or the area you want to live in, you want to have that supply-demand mismatch. You don't want it to already be oversaturated with supply like it is in all these US cities and all of these developed countries where everything's super expensive because the demand has already been met and the supply is oversaturated. You want to go somewhere where there's building demand, there's lots of demand and not a lot of supply to meet it, because then you as an entrepreneur can come in and take advantage of that demand. In the same way that you wouldn't buy a stock after it is already peaked up, after everyone's talking about it on the internet and all the YouTubers making videos about it, you don't buy it after it spikes. You want to buy it before it spikes, which means you need to be out there looking for the opportunities before other people find them. You don't want to move to a place that everyone already knows is a great place to live, because by that point, it might not be a great place to live anymore. You want to be on the cutting edge of it. You want to be early to the crowd. So in the same way that you apply that mindset to buying stocks, I kind of apply it to my life as well. I look at my life and where I'm going to live, and the businesses all start as investments. And I have the same mindset and approach to those kinds of decisions as I would with, say, buying stocks or crypto or whatever it might be. The truth is that growing up in the US, I'll just speak from personal experience, you have this image of the rest of the world as being this kind of scary place, this place that isn't as good as the US, these third world countries that they can barely provide food and everything's dirty and disgusting. It's like, where do we get these ideas from? We only get them from mainstream media. And I don't want to get like all conspiracy theorist on anyone, but of course a country is going to present other countries as worse than that country. Like that media company in that country kind of has like a duty, especially if it's a big one, a duty to, make the US like in a good light, paint the US in a good light as compared to other countries. So you really don't get an accurate view of other countries unless you actually go travel to them, actually visit them. And yeah, like I was in Costa Rica and Mexico City earlier this year. There were certain parts of Costa Rica, like San Jose was not that great of a city, but Mexico City, on the other hand, was cleaner than a lot of US cities. The public transportation worked better than a lot of US cities. Like that cost of living was fine. The restaurants were great. And when you think of Mexico City, all anyone can think about is crime, danger, like, oh, were you robbed? Those are the first reactions we have. So we need to kind of rewire, and I especially speak for myself, need to rewire the way I think about cities outside of the US, countries outside the US, and just ways of life outside the US, because chances are it's not as dramatically horrific as a lot of people paint it out to be. So that pretty much wraps up my whole ideas on this video. I'll probably be coming out with more because I just finished reading a book that was all about living this kind of lifestyle. It's kind of like a Tim Ferriss 4-Hour Work Week 2.0 is the way he described it. So I'll be making videos about that, and overall just documenting my decisions and my journey as I try to live this different kind of life. A life that I think is a little more aligned with what I want, what satisfies me, and what gets me really excited to be alive. So thank you very much for watching. I will of course put another video right here that I think you'll enjoy. Feel free to do all the stuff, the normal YouTube stuff. I don't know, subscribe if you like this kind of thing. And yeah, I'll catch you next time. Mahalo and take care.